is the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Basketball Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent, it's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots, the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
Well, good morning and welcome to our third edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. Basketball season officially underway across all four divisions in the state of New Hampshire. I'm Pete Terrier, along with my co-host Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com. Getting close to Christmas. I know with young children like both you and I have, it's an exciting time of year, but I really like it because it means holiday tournaments coming up. Next weekend when we're doing the show, we'll be talking about all those holiday basketball tournaments, and it's just a lot of fun really getting into the season right now.
Happy Festivus, yes. Yeah. This is a big time of year for Tommy Amin. He's got all the records of the Queen City and everything, the schedule and everything. The holiday tournament starting up after last night's action.
Yeah, certainly a lot of action, a lot of exciting action around the state of New Hampshire. I was at a game down in Pelham for the second week in a row. I'm in the Snake Pit, and it was a big matchup in D2. We'll talk about that. We got Dave Haley with the scoreboard from around the state of New Hampshire. Scoreboard is brought to you by our friends at the New Hampshire Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement. Their Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors, even if it's in a little eggnog at your holiday party over the next couple of days. You just can't do it. It is against the law. How about those scores, Dave?
I love these segues. Trinity, finally, for the love of Pete, finally begins their season. 62-52, a little closer than expected win over Concord last night. Carmen Giampetruzzi, 21 points, 14 rebounds. As my friend Richard Eaton told me last night. So it begins again for those guys. Wendy and Gabriel, by the way, my guy, did not play last night. The rest in his foot.
After one 5-minute and 43-second stint.
I know. They should be offended in Concord that he didn't play. I told Jay McKenna that he had trap game in his opener, and he went out and won 69-37. Winnicott over Keene, 69-37. That's not an easy trip to make. Nice win. Winnicott, I think, is going to have a really, really good season this year. A game that we covered, which Rich Flara made his debut with Genchick. Merrimack, 47-44 over Bedford. That's a great road win for Merrimack. We'll talk about that one. Manchester Central, who I am on record as saying is the best team in New Hampshire, with a 78-59 win over Alverin last night. Londonderry, the team that won the summer championship, so to speak, they start off on a good note, 74-52 over Manchester Memorial.
I'm telling you, everywhere I go, people talk about that Londonderry team.
They win the summer. There's a team every summer. I'm not kidding. There's a team that gets the buzz. It was Winnicott last year. This year it's Londonderry, so we'll talk about them. Pete Terrier's alma mater, Nashua South, 68-55. They are 2-0.
Yordi Tavares, man. He's 28 last night. He had a big game against Spalding.
Yeah,
I think
when did he become
25
a
on Monday.
scorer?
Well, he wasn't even on the team last year, I don't think. I think he took a year off.
I thought he played last year. I remember him.
I don't recall Yordi Tavares on the team. From 2 years ago, Yordi Tavares plays. I don't think he played last year.
68-55. Nate Masrell is a terrific coach, and so that's a nice little start to go 2-0 there. So I'm going to bounce around real quick here now after we did Division I. My friend Jamie Hayes with a nice win. Newmarket 55-35 over Concord Christian.
I thought the cupboard was bare for him.
Yeah.
I think he's 2-0.
You know what? I think we're going to see how good of a coach he is, and I suspect that he's very good. So I think they're gonna be, by the end, they're gonna be a team there could be a lot of trouble come tournament time. The favorite in that division is Derryfield, and they opened up last night 55-26 with a victory over Portsmouth Christian. Bouncing around Farmington 58-53 over Laconia. Epping, Sean Young gets another nice win. They've got a tough schedule early. Epping 87-73. Jordan Litz, that big star for Wilton, but Epping pulls out the win.
That was an interesting matchup. I saw a tweet from Ryan O'Leary from SeacoastOnline.com, and he had showed what Jimmy Stanley did last night. I think 31 points, 17 rebounds. And I saw the 87 points they scored against Wilton Lineborough, and I wonder what that kid Litz, your preseason second teamer. You hadn't even seen him.
I heard he's first team. Yeah, Jamie
got 37 last night.
I heard he's legit. Yeah, so I feel good about that one. Kennett, I had a good feeling about Kennett coming this season, and they win against Merrimack Valley in the opener, 61-44. Conant all over Kearsarge, 65-37. Plymouth continues to roll. I believe they're 3-0 now, 66-40 over Kingswood. Berlin all over Belmont, not letting them breathe, 73-17 over Belmont. Berlin is a very, very good team. We were talking before we came in here that Berlin may be a team that sneaks into the preseason jamboree next season. Portsmouth with a nice win on the road, 70-53. It was told to me by Justin McIsaac that Packland was quote-unquote as good as Teen Wolf last night, and that's such an irresponsible thing to say, because Teen Wolf was just an absolutely phenomenal player, and I don't believe Packland can live up to that.
I just watched that with my son a couple of weeks ago. He was like, man, that Wolf is good.
He was really good. And you got to think, like, as a coach, you teach your kids, you need to be prepared for any scenario. How do you prepare for a kid turning into a wolf in the middle of the game?
You just can't prepare.
No, you don't see that coming. There's absolutely nothing you can do, especially when he's got handle like that. Game that Pete Terry and the great John Kesty was at last night. I want to hear about it. Pembroke 63-49 over Pelham. That's a matchup of my preseason number one and my preseason number two. We're going to have Matalosa on the show later. Wrapping up scoreboard, Pittsfield, Jay Darrow with another nice win there. Pittsfield's got they got some talent over there, and they win 85-54 over New Prospect Mountain 3-0. They beat Campbell 60-55. St. Thomas is surprisingly off to a very good start. They beat a little bit of an upset, I think. They beat Co-Brown 54-47, although Co-Brown sort of rounds into shape kind of around February. Wyndham 65-62 over Goffstown. That's a good win there for Tom Stephanides. Sunapee all over Moultonborough. This really surprised me, 87-44. I thought more of Moultonborough, but Sunapee's legit. And our friends over at Stevens with a season-opening 61-56 win over Monadnock.
Yeah, and look, there's games being played. It's not just Tuesday and Friday. Go ahead if you got another.
I'm sorry, I got one more score, which is I meant to do. Lebanon with a 51-45 win over Hanover. That's always a huge rivalry out there. Good win for Lebanon.
Where was that game? Was it at Lebanon, or Hanover?
It was at Lebanon.
Oh, what a rivalry that is.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, used to be just Tuesday and Friday nights. Some guys even came up with a nickname because of those basketball nights, Tuesday and Friday. Our friend TNF.
He certainly did.
There was games on Thursday. There was games on Monday this week. There was games that were tried to be played on Tuesday. They got snowed out. They got moved to Wednesday. Some of them started, and then they didn't even finish it. That Trinity Central game, and let's talk about what happened there.
We are the home for conspiracy. We're home for weird, this is a Zapruder film of anything Manchester Trinity, whatever sport it is. We got John Cassidy's on it.
Yeah, that was interesting situation.
300 views on a slippery court game.
I know, and we were in the gym. They started the game. The JV game went a little bit long, and then they started the varsity game.
Were kids slipping in the game before?
You know what? I didn't really notice, but wasn't paying as close attention. But Central was blowing them out in the JV game, and the Trinity crowd was there. They were ready. They were early, and so was the Central crowd. And I've never seen so much cheering during a JV game. This kid for Trinity hit a 3 at the buzzer, and they lost by like 20, but he hit a 3 at the buzzer to make it a little bit closer at the end, and the Trinity fans went absolutely nuts. I mean, that must have been the highlight of this young kid's career.
They were great at the Jamboree too. They were fun.
So they get started with the game, And poor Joey Martin, he must have wiped out like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Carmen slipped.
Yeah.
It was on the baseline and on the sidelines. And Pat Smith's out there with this big, those big wide mops that they have that they just, kind of sweep the court with. And Pat Smith's out there, and he's sweeping, he's wiping, and then they would come out with another one of those big mops, and then they would come out with a bunch more towels. And I'm like, you're gonna need a lot of towels for this, because they kept on having to wipe it up. And then they would conference with the officials, and then they bring the coaches in. And once they started bringing the coaches together, and I saw Chip Pollock, who was the new athletic director, used to be the AD at Southern New Hampshire University, longtime AD from New Hampshire College in Southern New Hampshire. He's now at Trinity High School. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. When they're conferencing like this.
When you tweeted that out, I was sitting there going, because I had my daughter, so I couldn't get down there, and I was like, oh, no. I mean, when you said that, I was like shocked. When you were the first guy to tweet it out. You and Roger were tweeting, but you were the first guy to say they might call this thing off.
I figured there's no way that they could continue to play because it was just unsafe. It was just unsafe.
So I joke, my public relations firm for Manchester is Dawson Dixon and Carmen Giampetruzzi. Those are my guys. And if I need something for our website, I go to those guys and they get it out there. They both on Twitter after the game. There were no complaints from kids. It was more like somebody was gonna break their neck. I think Dawson said something like Joey Martin was gonna break every bone in his body. Like if we kept playing that game, they weren't complaining. They were more like, it wasn't happening.
Yeah, it was. They made the right decision, and I'm surprised. At one point, Chip Pollock comes on the PA and says, we're going to open the doors. We turned on a couple of fans. We're going to wait 15 minutes, see if it dries things up a little bit. I was like, that ain't going to work.
Yeah.
And then they sent the teams back to their locker rooms. And then all of a sudden you'd see Dave Keefe emerge, and here comes Doc, and they walk over to that wet spot on the far sideline, and they're both testing it out, and at that point I was like, there's no way they're resuming this game. They couldn't have been happy.
Yeah, they must have been.
Lauren Gaudette. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Lauren Gaudette is, but she's like an assistant for Nashua South football, Nashua South basketball. She does a lot of scouting for Nate Mazzarole. She's there, and she's deaf. So I'm like, Lauren, can you read lips, because there's conversation going on, and then she's like, I think they're talking about picking up and moving over to Central. I'm like, they're not gonna move this whole thing. What are you gonna do? Take all these fans? And outside of that, McHugh Gym is so small, and there's no place to park over there.
Yeah.
So they had that little parking lot at the high school filled up real quick. I parked across the street at the dairy field. They had that secondary parking lot at the top of the hill.
Yep.
By the baseball field.
Yep.
Well, that was closed for whatever reason. I don't know. They had it blocked off, and so you had to park all the way down the road by the other baseball fields, and I had to walk all the way up. When I came out after they canceled the game, there was people parked on the side of Bridge Street, on Bridge Street, outside of those snowbanks, all the way up the street. I'm like, that's so dangerous.
I'm all for atmosphere, but they got to move this thing to Southern New Hampshire, and that's one of the things I tweet out. You got to move this thing now that you've got time, and you got to move it. I'm not saying that it'll be slippery again. I just think it's such a huge game, and look, if you can sell that many tickets to a game like that, just go ahead and do it. And I know Trinity loses a home game, but, I think Dave Keefe in his last season, has kind of mentioned, let's do this, let's do the, he was for it, and Doc was going along with it.
But I guess they're playing it at Trinity on January 19th. Hopefully, it'll be a conflict with the AFC Championship game involving the Patriots, because that's the day. I don't know. I'm not feeling too good about that.
Do you feel like this is the biggest? I mean, if the Patriots lose, it's over. And if they win, they're right there.
If they lose tomorrow,
it's over.
I don't want to say it's over, but their chances are not as good. I mean, I think they really need a bye. They got to get healthy. They got to get a little rest.
Yeah, it's just not happening.
But this Patriots team has responded. Just when you thought it was over for them, they've responded. So until it's actually over, I'm not gonna get that fatalistic approach. Like, you seem resigned to the fact that it's over. I still have a little bit of hope. So
I'm saying if they lose tomorrow, it's over. I'm not saying today is over.
All right, I'm getting a text because we're talking here and people listen and they know our phone numbers and they text us. We don't give everybody this general information, but let's see who this texts in.
It's TNF, of course.
It's TNF. He says the SNU gym is not available till February. So unless they push that game back to February, it's going to be played at McHugh Gym. Yeah. All right, we got to take a timeout. We got Matt Alosa from Pembroke coming up at 8:35 this morning. He's going to talk about his team. That's a heck of a basketball basketball team. They were down by 10.
It's a great win.
Big win on the road last night at Pelham.
And they won at Lebanon, too.
They won at Lebanon.
Very nice wins, yeah.
They are very, very good. So we'll talk to Coach Alosa about 15 minutes from now. Come back. We'll kind of go around the league and talk about certain games. I want to get into that Merrimack-Bedford game a little bit, about how that thing ended. Eric Gendron certainly making a case to be the player of the year. As a matter of fact, I read a quote in the Telegraph from Tim Goodrich saying he's the player of the year last night. Maybe not necessarily in those exact words, but he did say player of the year in a quote that I saw talking about Eric Gendron and that outstanding game that he had last night in the
He's
win
my pick.
on the road at Bedford. You picked him as your preseason player of the year. Did you have a co-player of the year?
No.
Or was it just
he's
Eric
my
Gendron?
guy.
There
Yeah,
you go.
Eric Gendron.
All right, Dave Haley knows his stuff.
There we go.
It is the New Hampshire
would
High
hope so at
School
this
Hoop
point.
Show. Quick timeout. Jen Wells producing it. She's getting irritated in there. You don't want to make
She's
Jen
going to play
Wells
winger for me.
angry.
I already requested winger. And because of my birthday yesterday, she's going to do it for me. I know she is.
We'll be right back on News Radio 610 and 96.7. You know you got the best producer in the world, the lovely Jennifer
and
Wells.
winger.
Birthday
You're welcome.
request going out to Dave Haley. Dave, you're finally 21, huh?
Yeah, finally.
Are you
The
17?
slow crawl.
Are
Yeah.
you 17 like the girl in the song?
I feel like it. I feel like it's not today. I felt like it last night, I'll tell you.
Happy birthday to Dave Haley.
Yeah.
What are you, 40 now?
42.
42.
I know, 41 was just like such a slimming number, and now it's like 2 is like such a, just a round, big number.
You're only a year younger than me. Like, I thought you were a couple years younger than me. I'm 43, so
I just act like a child, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're in better shape than I am at this stage of your life. So.
I'm not. I need to get in better shape myself. But we mentioned during the timeout a lot of the Trevor Howard let me know a lot of the northern games were canceled last night for frozen rain, so that's why we didn't get a lot of scores from up north.
I guess there's some concerns about tonight too, like a potential ice storm. Is that legit, Jen?
Yeah,
I heard that it wasn't going to
Yes.
affect us in this area. We
In
do the show
northeastern
from
part of the
Manchester.
state.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it's supposed to start after midnight.
All right. So hopefully there won't be, massive power outages. I mean, you know how tough that is. And it usually happens like prior to a big football game or something. So the sports bars will be going crazy, the ones that have power. But all those people, I remember the ice storms. There was ice storms a few years ago, and it was during football season, and no one had power. And I was doing a promotion at Billy's in Manchester.
Billy's.
There was a line outside the door waiting to get in to see this big Patriots. I think they were playing the Raiders sometime in December. This was a few years ago. It might have been the Matt Castle year. And I remember how crazy packed it was. And I was talking to the management over at Billy's, and they were like, yeah, all the sports bars are crazy because no one has power, and they're going to watch this game.
I went to Billy's once after a game, and Dave Keefe was there, Mike Fitzpatrick was there, Doc was there. It was it was like a coaches convention over at Billy's after a game. It was great.
Yeah, that's the way it is here, especially around Manchester.
I like that. Yeah, it's great.
Now, the Central game last night, they played Alvern. Were they in? Was that at Central?
Is
at
that
the Simon
Central?
Gym?
Yeah, it was at Central. I don't have any details of that yet.
Well, according to the union leader, they got a blurb about it. John Martin, one of the Florida transfers, older bro, the redhead. If you saw that,
Cut his hair, huh?
I don't know.
I remember at the Jamboree. Yeah, he cut his hair.
Well,
I saw it in the 3 minutes of highlights we had of the game.
He had 22 points last night.
He's
and
legit.
his little brother
Joey
ended up with 13 points. And I guess Joey Martin had himself
Whoa,
a dunk,
wait a
according to
second.
Dawson Dixon's tweet.
What about your whoopee?
Brad Hansen? Let's see.
What'd your whoopee do?
He had 13.
Of course you did.
Yeah, they were up by 20 in the first quarter. All right, they took a 20-point lead on Alvern in the first quarter, and Alvern looked pretty good in the Jamboree, albeit against Newport. But Central wins that game 78-59.
Tyler Brown. They mentioned Tyler Brown.
He had 22 to lead the
I picked him
way.
first team preseason.
Yeah, I thought you got a little bit.
I said
maybe
to
all the time you spent at Alvern
I
during
asked
the
Seth.
Jamboree
I
that
asked
weekend.
Seth. I go, Seth, what do you think? And Seth goes, he's going to average 20 points a game. He did 22 last night against Central.
Well, who was the kid from Concord? Caleb Markey, who was averaging like 20 a game.
Oh, hold
And everybody's
on.
saying,
Alvern
hey.
is better than Concord.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but
slow your roll.
I'm just
come on.
saying, wasn't there a guy that was like saying, "Hey, he's first team. He averaged 20 a game for this Concord."
Yeah, and I
for
was-
this 1-in-17 Concord team.
I wasn't buying it then. I'm not buying it now. But Alvern's always in the mix. Alvern's a top 10 team.
What makes
Mark
you
my
think?
words.
And I'm not disputing you, But you said earlier in this program that you think Central's the best team in the state.
Yes.
What makes you feel that way?
I just feel like they're I think it's apples and oranges. I mean, I think it's 1 and 1A with Trinity, but they're just the reason I picked them is those two kids from Florida. I just think they're a little deeper, and when somebody from Manchester West decides to sign a form and get Nolan Flynn eligible to play, then all of a sudden you got Nolan Flynn, Mike Pletzis, and Nick Macris coming off your bench, and I mean, boy, oh boy, I mean, that's a top 8 to go with their starting lineup of Dawson and your Whoopi and the two Florida kids and Tyler Kelly. I mean, I just think they're a little deeper than Trinity. Although, I think for Trinity, the big thing, and I wrote in the preview, is kids like Connor Walsh and Ryan Baldwin and kids like that, like developing off the bench. And I have every confidence they will. I thought they all look good in the Jamboree. They're big, strong kids. But that's going to be a key for Trinity is those guys off the bench. I mean, you got to be able to go 8 deep if you're going to win a championship.
Richard Eaton, who, he fills in, he's the stat guy for Trinity
he's our guy,
basketball. My guy. And he's kind enough to, he gives us a little scouting report on the game, and he told us that Wenyon Gabriel was rested last night, so he didn't play in the Jamboree. He did play in that abbreviated game the other night and had a tip-in. I think he had the first basket of the season for Trinity, and it still counts. Those numbers are going to count. When that game resumes with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left in the first quarter on January 19th, it's going to be 13-all Trinity and Central, and Wenyon Gabriel had a tip-in of a Carmen G miss in that. And you could see it on the video, but they rested him last night. Now, he's very, very spindly as it is. I mean, it's very, very skinny. Mabor, his older brother, who was at the game the other night, I saw him.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. And he is a little bit thicker than Wenyon is.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm like looking at his foot, and he had a kind of a brace on that left. I think it was his left foot. Right around where the foot meets the ankle. He looked like he was a little ginger to me. I don't think they'd put him out there unless he was ready. Maybe he was unsure more than walking around gingerly, but. He's not his brother, I can say that right now. Now, he's a junior and he has a chance to grow into that, but I don't think he's going to be as good as his brother. I could be wrong. I don't see him in practice every day.
No, Mabor was better at a younger age. I mean, Mabor just wasn't consistent when he was younger. I mean, I feel like I reference this all the time, but the championship game when they lost to BG, when they had Sean McClung and Connor Green and that BG team that won it, and Mabor was the best player on the floor in the first half of the championship game, and they disappeared in the second half. But as he got older, I thought Mabor was tremendous last year. He was a first-team pick, and I think that you play them because I believe that Dave and Doc feel like they're going 16-2, 17-1, or better, or 15-3 at worst. I think they believe that privately. And I think they feel like that's going to be a big tiebreaker. That game is going to be big. I mean, it might be the difference between a 1 and a 2 seed or a 2 and a 3 seed.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think you're if you're 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you're 1, you get to play the 4
No, you're right.
instead of the 2 playing the 3. And that might make a difference between you either having to play Merrimack, as a potential 3 seed, or Londonderry or Winnicott or BG or whoever else would be in that.
No question, no question. You're right. But I think though you play it as if it is really going to matter.
Now, one of the other things that kind of sticks out to me from last night a little bit, you talked about that game, the game between Winnicott and Keene. I mean, Winnicott rolled them. I was reading somewhere earlier this week how Jay McKenna, and maybe it was in your D1 preview, about Richie Ruffin.
Yeah.
That he is
I'm hearing things. Yeah, I'm hearing really good
Remember
things.
when his sister was tearing it up for Winnicott?
Yeah.
Tiffany Ruffin,
right.
She was like a 4-year star. I mean, as a freshman, I think they won a championship, and she led the way. And maybe Richie Ruffin's kind of coming into his own and following his sister's footsteps.
The way Jay describes it is kids can't stay in front of him. You know what I mean? And he's too good with the ball in him. And I expected Sam Nolmeyer to have a bigger year last year than he did, but I expected to kind of maybe I was a year early on that. I think backcourt-wise, they're not very big at all. But I think that their backcourt is as good as any backcourt in the state. And, they're going to push the pace. They're going to pressure you. And they've been waiting for Alec Boucher to get back. Boucher, he had an injury, a thumb injury from football season that kind of, they thought with rest would get better, and it hadn't. But I think Winnicott absolutely is going to be a team. If you're Winnicott, you say, you want a home game, you know what I mean, and you want the opportunity to host a first round playoff game and see where that lands you. And I absolutely think they'll be in that mix.
And they're in that Oyster River holiday tournament usually, Winnicott, right?
Yeah, they play with
Portsmouth's in there,
yeah.
and
Yep.
those Seacoast teams are in there. That's
Spalding.
There's so many good holiday tournaments. I was talking to Matt Regan last night after the game at Pelham, and they play in the Lowell tournament, and then you got I think Salem and Pinkerton and
they played Lawrence, right?
Somebody else playing that Lawrence tournament. I think Londonderry, he told me, plays in that Lowell tournament. So the Chick-fil-A, Concord's got a good tournament that Pembroke and Concord, and Brady play in. There's just so many different ones. I'm on vacation from my real job next week, so I'm going to try and go see as many basketball games. And I know John said he's free, and we'll bring the camera out there, so we'll definitely hit as many of those as we can. I'm not talking we're going to cover 4 games a day over the whole thing, but we'll try and cover a couple of games during the holiday.
I'm going to go up. I may go up to the alma mater and wear my 1990 Guilford Lakes Region Holiday Tournament Championship sweatshirt.
And it still fits, I bet.
Nice
at the age of 42.
Nice and snug. Nice and snug.
All right, one guy who probably is about the same size he was, back in his day, the head coach of the Pembroke Spartans, Matt Alosa, still looking good. I'm sure he could still play. And he probably plays in practice. I want to ask him that question and see if he plays against like Pat Welch and some of those guys.
I've seen him play. He still rips it up.
He's going to join us on the other side of this break. Matt Alosa from Pembroke. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. News Radio 610 and 96.7. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop and Hair Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
I love Jen. I think I'm in love with Jen Wells.
Pete Terrier along with Dave Haley of NASportspage.com. Our next guest, I'm sure, likes a hair song or two. He was growing up back in the day when that stuff was ruling the radio. Matt Alosa from Pembroke. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Hi, Pete. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
We're doing very, very well. And say happy birthday to Dave. It was his 42nd yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Dave. Happy birthday. 42nd. Mine's coming up pretty soon.
That's
also.
right. Thank you.
Well, victory, your present, Dave, was a 63-49 victory by Pembroke over Pelham last night in the Snake Pit. That is a tough place to play, isn't it, Coach?
Absolutely. One of the toughest places to play in the state. Really, really tough. Good environment, and we came out with a pretty good, decisive, pretty good win. And very, very tough place to play, especially second game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you have to feel really good. Obviously, you should feel tremendous about that, winning at Lebanon, winning at Pelham, and even, playing Trinity in that Jamboree. I mean, those 3 really, really, really difficult basketball games all before Christmas. And obviously, you guys are the favorites. You got a lot of kids coming back. But losing Rennie and having him graduate and having to work somebody into the point guard role, obviously, there's a lot of things you're still kind of learning about this group. But that has to feel good for you to be tested 3 times this quickly.
It does. I'm not really very happy about the start that we got. Both games we went out and got in a hole right at the beginning of the game. Last night, Brown came out really shooting the ball and got us in a hole right away. But we did scratch and claw back into the game, so we were down 1, I think, at the half. And in the second half, we were pretty much in control. But, it's good to be battle-tested early on, and I am getting a new feel for this team to find out who's going to play what role throughout the season.
Coach, is Pat Welch your point guard right now? I mean, he seems to be. He's handling the ball a lot. And in that first half, I felt he deferred a lot and tried to get the other guys involved. But then he really took over in the second half. I mean, is he really your point guard right now?
I guess you could say he's the starting point guard. Sometimes we're point guard by committee. I'm actually hoping for Dylan Gage or Connor Boucher to step up and take over that role, but they don't have a lot of varsity experience thus far. We're trying to gradually get them into the mix. Kind of a tough 2-game stretch to get them some experience against Lebanon and against Pelham. I thought they did a better job last night, and I'm hoping one of those guys at some point can step up, if not starting, coming off the bench, take the ball away from Pat a little bit to get him off the ball. But definitely feeling the effects of losing Rainey Marr. I think we're going to be fine. As you saw last night, Pete, we have Dominic Timbus and Jordan Williams, Stefani Williams, that can handle the ball on the perimeter. So it's not so much getting pressed, it's just getting us in sets when I want Pat to be away from the ball.
One of the questions, Coach, that I get asked more often than anything else when I'm out and about and talking to people about high school hoop is people talk about Patrick Welch a lot. I happen to think he's the best player in the state of New Hampshire, and people ask me all the time, where's he going? Where's he getting offers from? Is this a D2 guy? Is he going to play D1? Can you kind of give us a little insight into what his plans might be, or maybe not where he's going, but like who's talking to him and so forth?
Yeah, I think Pat right now is in between D2 and D1. I'm pretty sure that he's going to have some D2 offers, already has for that matter. I know the local teams, St. A's, Bentley, people like that are very, very interested, and some have offered him scholarships. Other D1 schools that have seen him play at the national championship are very, very interested and are actively talking to him as we speak. They're in the recruiting period. They've talked to him on the phone and said they're coming to see him this year, and I'm pretty sure that they'll make him some offers, but we'll see. If he doesn't get what he wants by the end of the year, he might go to prep school 1 year just so he can get more exposure. Pat's had a really good season last year, and I think he's going to have a pretty good one this year, and just waiting to see. He wants to go and play at his maximum potential.
That's Matt Alosa, the head coach of the Pembroke Spartans, victorious last night on the road at Pelham, 63-49, talking about Pat Welch's outstanding senior guard. 21 points in the game, 17 of them after halftime, and only one three-pointer, and he didn't really attempt too many. I think that's the difference over the last couple of years with Pat Welch. His first 2 years, his freshman and sophomore seasons, he was a jump shooter, a perimeter guy. But last year, I noticed he started to take it strong to the hole, and last night, he was just right to the basket, coast to coast on the dribble, really explosive. I don't think there's anybody as fast as him in the state of New Hampshire.
He's very, 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 very fast. And last night you could see against a very fast Pelham team, for me, it has the most intensity and is probably the best defensive intensified team in the state, along with Trinity and Central. Pat can really, really get to the basket. And we try to preach that in practice, getting to the free throw line and getting easy shots inside. And I think it was the difference last night in the second half between Pat and Jordan Williams getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line a little bit, and creating easy shots for us.
Coach, one of the things you hear often is, people talk about Trinity and BG, and when they're in the championship, people say, oh, they get to recruit, and they get kids from Merrimack, and they get kids from other school, and they're able to do it. It sort of is starting to kind of be the noise, it was probably a good way of putting it, with you guys, is like, oh, well, Pembroke recruits, and they get to, obviously, how do you address something like that, when people say, well, they're bringing kids from other towns, and so forth and so on, and they may have an advantage in that. What do you say to accusations like that?
Well, the first thing I say is I'm not recruiting anyone. I'm not to say someone has a vested interest in basketball and knows that we have a very, very good program at Pembroke and wants to be a part of it, and then they do something on their own to either move to Pembroke, move to Central, to pay to go to BG, or whatever they do. I don't have anything to do with that. I know and play and coach well within the rules of the NHIAA. So the thing for me is I coach in the summertime AAU basketball, and then I coach in the wintertime in the high school basketball. And we at Pembroke Academy know the rules between both. It'd be silly of me to go out and talk to a family and say, would you like to move to Pembroke? Move your family to Pembroke. It's just in my mind, it's crazy. So we have a couple kids right now, for example, that are sitting out waiting for the results from the NHIA because they moved into the Pembroke district. That is on their family and what they decided to do as a family. And I just show up for tryouts, and those kids were there this year. They enrolled at Pembroke. They've been in Pembroke for the whole year. And, I just kind of go and come to practice day one and see what players we have.
Do you think that there's more controversy surrounding those two particular kids because they stand 6'7", both of them? I mean, I think if there were 5'9" guards, no one would really be saying anything.
Unless they were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we draw a lot of attention. Our basketball program draws a lot of attention. We're coming off winning a state championship and going 25-0. So I understand where all the attention's coming from. Again, I don't choose to have kids move into the Pembroke area. We've never had any transfers except Tyler Gahara, who was from Central last year that didn't start for me, kind of really didn't play that much, but was on my team last year and as a junior 2 years ago. We haven't had any other transfer during the middle of their high school year. So this is our first time dealing with this. people forget this is my 8th year at Pembroke, and this has never came up before, but somehow we're always under people thinking about us when it's talking about recruiting. But anyways, I think it's unwarranted in my opinion.
When, Coach, and look, I know you're coaching your team and you're fully invested in the Pembroke Spartans, but we've talked about this before. There's another level. I think you're a coach that, could be coaching and coaching successfully at the next level at college or whatever. I mean, is that still something that you would like to see happen? Nothing against your current situation, but I mean, is that a goal for you to move on and move up in the ranks of coaching?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to play it by ear. I enjoy coaching for my alma mater at Pembroke Academy. I've thought about coaching in college before, or maybe move up to prep school and then college. I do enjoy being a head coach. Not to say at the right program I would not be someone's assistant. I would. But at my age, turning the ripe old age of 42 here, along with Dave, I'm looking for the right position, or maybe move up to a Division III or Division II head coaching job. If that position arises, I might entertain it. But for right now, I'm really happy with coaching the Spartans.
So what's your situation? Do you guys have any games next week, or is it just a break until the holiday tournament and you'll be playing in that Capital City tournament? Is that the deal?
We actually play John Stark on Monday night. Okay. And then we have a couple days before we play in the Capital City Classic at NHTI.
So who do you got in that first round game at NHTI?
We play Bo in the first round.
So is there a potential? So is it Bo, Brady, you guys, and Concord? Or is there other teams involved?
Yeah, there's Hopkinton.
And they're
Kearsarge.
good.
Yep, Kearsarge. 8 teams in our tournament, the Christmas tournament. We just expanded it. So Concord High, Merrimack Valley, Pembroke, Brady, Kearsarge, Hopkinton, Bow, and we go on from there. So it's good. We get 3 games in a row if we do happen to make the finals. We get to play Class L Concord High, who looking at the score last night is much improved from last year. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that is a challenge, and it's always a rivalry in our area.
So is that like the day after Christmas and then 3 days? When does that tournament start?
Yep, 3 days in a row. It's the day after Christmas. I think it's, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah.
I know our game is the late game at 8 o'clock at night.
All right, Coach. Well, we look forward to it. I'm making it my goal to go to as many holiday tournaments as possible, so I'll try and get up there for at least one game. But we really appreciate the time. It was fun watching you. I'm telling you, other coaches, Jordan Williams has improved his offensive game, and so has Dominic Timbus. I mean, those guys, you mentioned them. They just give you another element. And along with Pat Welch and the other, this is the deepest Pembroke team I've ever seen. So I think you guys are going to be real tough to beat this year. It was fun watching you last night, and it'll be fun covering you the rest of the way, and we appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to see you at the games.
All right, Coach. Matt Alosa from Pembroke. Merry Christmas to them. That's a good basketball team. I know they lost to Trinity, and I think maybe if we could somehow swing it so those two teams played again, or whoever wins Division I, and plays against the winner of Division II, I'd like to see that at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, they're terrific, and I think, another thing that is great for a coach like Matt Alosa is that your best player is the kid who works harder than anybody else. You know what I mean? That sets a tone when Patrick Welch is outworking everybody else. You know what I mean?
Well, and we had the video for that game that I don't know if it's up on the site yet, but it's going to be up on the site at some point today, at some point soon probably. Watch those kids in the interview after the game. I talk with Pat Welch, I talk with Dominic Timbus and Jordan Williams. And the classiest kids, they're very well educated, very well spoken, and as I said at the end of the video, the best dressed team in New Hampshire high school basketball. Pat Welch wearing a 3-piece suit.
Remember him last year, yeah. UNH's those guys where they wouldn't get on camera until they were ready to go. I think that says a lot about their coach, and we do notice these little things. I mentioned the Lebanon kids at the Jamboree and how just those kids came up to you, looked you in the eye, and thanked you and shook your hand. And you notice these things when you cover high school athletes. John Kester will always tell me, the kids that he notices. He mentions the Plymouth kids a lot in football, like how they go up and thank him after an interview and so forth. You notice these things, how these kids present themselves. It says a lot about, their coach.
He runs a class program over there, and we do appreciate him joining us. All right, we'll take a quick time out, come back, wrap up the show, our holiday weekend edition of the program. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. News Radio 610 and 96.7. I kind of like your birthday because Jen Wells pulling out all the stops
All for you.
this morning with the hair metal.
This could be a very special episode. I may propose to Jen Wells at the end of the show.
She's married. She's married.
That's all right. She's going to say no anyway. Even if she was single, she'd say no. But God, playing winger for me like this? Good grief, Charlie Brown.
The happy birthday, Dave Haley.
Just puts
42 years young.
A little hop in your step.
Where did you celebrate last night, Dave?
That is the question of the day. Where were
Someplace
you?
on the seacoast.
That's an off-the-air answer.
Someplace.
I had a good time
at Salisbury Beach.
I had a good time last night. I'm here. Hey, I was here ready to roll this morning. I didn't have to get the redhead out of bed this morning, so Allison's with my mom this morning, so I was able to get here on time. That was not good last week, rolling in here while Norman Dale was firing up the troops.
Yeah, he's texting me.
Oh, my God.
And in that spirit, Dave, last week he texted me at 8:02 saying, I'm stuck in the line at Dunkin' Donuts. I got a little something for you here.
Oh, I got a present.
All right, so you can go use that. Just don't text me again saying you're late.
Thank you.
Because of that, the gift card. That
No,
you
it's a
got
good little
there.
life lesson for my daughter.
It's just a token of my appreciation.
She's 7 years old and she's perfect, but we have to get her out of bed a little bit. I would be remiss if I didn't mention because obviously it's the talk I believe in New Hampshire high school basketball around the state. My Guilford Golden Eagles putting up 92 the
How
other
many
night
did
on
Josh Joyce have?
21.
Wow, so they got they're spreading the wealth a little bit.
I believe that I think they just scored again as we were speaking. 92, and the JV team won like 83-27. So beware, listeners in Jaffrey and Conant. We're coming for you. The Guilford Golden Eagles. No, we don't want any part of Conant. I'm just joking.
Did you guys ever score 92 when you were playing?
Oh, yeah, easy. Yeah. I mentioned...
What's your career high?
32. I beat I should have pretended I didn't know that.
Come on, everybody knows their career high. I can
32.
tell you details about my career high.
I beat Kevin Gray, the union leader. I want this noted for everybody by 41 points.
He doesn't work for the UL anymore. He's now WMUR.
WMUR is Kevin Gray. Yeah, we blasted him in high school by 41. So it is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm gonna Nashua. The Chick-fil-A tournament will be fun. Probably not like, last year, with Timmy Preston there and so forth. It was sort of like, I thought last year it was kind of the biggest tournament, but I may head up to Guilford, see some of that holiday tournament, and I'll definitely see you at Queen City and check that out. Won't it be interesting if Central and Trinity play?
They're gonna, because the way it's set up is...
they're not going to show each other anything.
The first day, they're going to go and they're going to play to win that game.
You think so?
The first day... I believe it's Exeter and Merrimack, I think, playing the first game, the opener at 3 o'clock, the day after Christmas. That's going to be a great game. I'm going to be there for that.
Yeah.
And then you got a team from Hartford, Connecticut playing in game 2, and I can't remember who they're playing, but it's set up that if Trinity wins their game, which they probably will, I think they're playing Memorial, and Central's playing West in their game on the first day of the tournament. The winners of those two games play each other, so it's probably going to be Central and Trinity in the I think it's the nightcap.
Remember last year's game between those two teams?
Wasn't it a blowout?
Trinity slept walk through it. Yeah. I mean, and so it's interesting. I mean, that tournament we talk about every year. Sometimes you get to the finals and all of a sudden, guys are resting their players and so forth. But I'll be there. I definitely want to see. I'd like to see Exeter and Merrimack. Obviously, I've seen Merrimack already this year, but Exeter, Jeff Holmes has got a really good team over there, and I think he's a very good coach. So that'll be a fun game to watch. Exeter's big.
Yeah,
like Max Medley.
Medley's got some good size, and they're just real solid.
I want to
players.
see. Who I want to see is Jeff Holmes' son, Brian Holmes, who's a sophomore, a little shooter. I want to see that kid play. He's pretty good. They got another kid. I think his name's Ben Sweat, who's a sophomore. They got some good young talent at Exeter.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And, as I said, I'm going to try and get to as many games as possible. I just hope that some of those holiday tournament games start early in the day.
Yeah.
Because usually they start late, late afternoon, and then they go into the night. If someone is playing noontime games, noontime tips,
and
that'll help me do what I'm trying to do.
Watch for Hopkinton in that Concord tournament. I believe they beat Concord last year. Hopkinton's legit in Division III, and I would love to see Hopkinton play Pembroke, and I believe Pembroke would win that game. But it would be a nice matchup to see because you'd have two top 3 teams in 2 divisions.
All right, heading out. Hey, I just want to mention one thing I noticed. John Kesty was saying his son Logan, who's playing at Plymouth now, is back in town practicing with BG. Kyle Gavin, 35 points the other night.
I saw that.
In a victory for the Cardinals.
Just like Kip Winger do his thing right now.
He's taking it out with Winger on the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. For Dave Haley, John Cassidy, our producer, Jen Wells. My name's Pete Terrier. Merry Christmas, everybody.